welcome everyone for joining us this evening. So the session this evening is going to be on SQE Prep or the LLM, how to choose the right course for you. So we'll be touching a bit about the different options, those different routes, and what might be most appropriate for you really. So I'm Nicola, I'm the Student Recruitment Manager here at the College of Legal Practice, and I oversee anything to do with inquiries from potential students and events as well that we hold. Really, and we're, as a team, we're very much focused on essentially what tonight's webinar is, on making sure that people select the best route for you when looking at preparing for the SQE. And I'm joined by a couple of colleagues this evening as well. So Lara, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Lara, and I work alongside Nicola as a student recruitment officer. At the college, we support in whether you have any sort of like questions, or whether you need support in sort of like what course is the best for you. And we also host a lot of different webinars and support students for any inquiries or questions that they might have.
Brilliant, thanks, Lara. I think your camera's gone. I'm not sure if you're glitching a little bit. You might just have to fiddle with it. Hopefully, you're back ready for your slides. Okay. And then Steve.
There. But I'll pass you on to Steve.
Right. Yes. Okay. That's me then. Hello. My name's Steve Johnson. I'm the SLK module leader, and SLK stands for Solicitors Legal Knowledge, and effectively I'm responsible for the preparation course for the SQE1 assessment, and that's my primary role. So responsible for the overall delivery of the course, hopefully making sure that everything goes well, and the delivery and the quality of the teaching materials that you'll come across during the course. I suppose I'm also the font of all knowledge as well, insofar as the SLK course is concerned. So I tend to be the first port of call whenever there are any questions about the effective running or otherwise of the course. So that's me in a nutshell of my job.
Thanks, Steve, and you've really set yourself up there. But we're going to have a lot of questions for you this evening, I'm sure. Lovely, thank you. So let's have a look then. So just a heads up for what we're planning to cover this evening. So I'll give you a bit of an introduction about who we are as a college, covering what the different SQE routes are, what's involved in those SQE 1 and 2 assessments. Steve will be focusing then on the details involved in the SQE preparation and what's involved in the LLM. Talking about the different study pathways, and we'll definitely have time for questions at the end as well. I'll keep sort of checking through the questions as they come through. If I see anything that's sort of relevant for us to answer whilst we're going through particular slides, we'll try and pick those up. But if not, please be reassured, we'll make sure we do come to those at the end as well. And I have had a look over the questions that were submitted when you registered for the programme as well. So I sort of took those into consideration, ready for the slides this evening. So then, for those of you who don't know who we are, the College of Legal Practice, we're a fully online legal training provider, and we're focused on postgraduate programmes. We specialise in SQE preparation, and we have actually been supporting students through the SQE since the very first exam sitting. So there aren't any other providers out there that have any more experience than we do. Our parent company, who are the College of Law, are leaders in legal education in Australia. So we're very experienced. We've got a lot of backing there in terms of delivering digital learning. We're very much focused on accessible and affordable legal education. you'll see that our costs sort of relate then to that. Very focused on being able to offer facilitate and increase access to the profession. So through obviously keeping those costs as low as we can, and also by having the flexible course options that you'll hear about this evening as well. You'll see there's a number of different logos on the screen there. So we work with many different law firms, some large, many small ones as well, where we provide the SQE preparation for perhaps their training contracts or for their sort of direct employees that they have there. We also do work with a number of universities who have asked us to provide the SQE preparation part of their own LLM programs as well. So there's a few on there, but there's a number of others as well. So just to give you a bit of background really about who we are. So let's have a look then about what the actual SQE route is. I know some of you might be coming to the session this evening already having a lot of knowledge on this. Others might be quite unfamiliar. So that's why we're just kind of starting at that base level just to make sure that everyone has that understanding. So in September 2021, the SRA introduced the SQE, which we'll refer to a lot, we should say the full title, Solicitors Qualifying Exams, and they're a rigorous assessment for aspiring solicitors in England and Wales. Now we've put together this little jigsaw symbol there to hopefully kind of represent and make it quite clear about the 4 components that are required as part of the SQE route to qualifying. So first of all, you have to have a degree. So interestingly, it doesn't actually technically have to be a law degree, but as you'll hear during the session this evening, the SQE preparation, the SQE exams are very, very taxing, and to come to it without any legal background is sort of setting yourself up for a fail really of what's very costly exams. So we would always recommend someone who hasn't studied law previously to go on to a law conversion course such as our GDL, which I can touch on briefly later as well. But that is always the recommended route. But the SRA have opened it up so that you don't necessarily need a law degree, because it could actually be that perhaps you don't have a degree in law, but you have worked in legal practice for many years. So, there is that element of flexibility to it, which is great. You then have the SQE1 and the SQE2 exams, which need to be passed, and I'll speak about those individually in a minute. You will also need to gain 2 years of qualifying work experience, often referred to as QWE, and also meet the standard suitability requirements. Now, we've put this together in a jigsaw because other than obviously having the degree part, the others, the SQE and the gaining the qualifying work experience, there isn't actually a direct order to those. So there's lots of flexibility there. And that's what we'll speak about a bit this evening as well in terms of those different routes. So the aim of bringing in these exams was to increase access and diversity. The exams are run by Kaplan on behalf of the SRA, the Solicitors Regulatory Authority, and meeting those 4 requirements there will allow you to become a day 1 qualified solicitor. So as opposed to the old LPC route, if anyone's familiar with that, which was leading you to become a day 1 trainee, this is actually being a day 1 qualified solicitor. So I'll just have a look and show you a bit more about the actual SQE1 and 2 exams then. So the SQE1 exams is very much focused on solicitors' legal knowledge, and it's made up of 360 multiple choice questions spread out over 4 papers in total. But it's essentially on one day you will have a 2.5 hour exam, then with a break, followed by another 2.5 hours exam, and the same again on another day, around a week apart, generally. So 10 hours worth of exams in total. The cost for that exam is £2,006. It does go up every year. The SRA did put it up, and you can take those tests in. It's normally in Pearson VUE test centres, so often the places where the driving tests, for example, are held as well. And the SQE1 can be sat every January and every July. Now, there's an awful lot covered in the SQE1 for the solicitor's legal knowledge. You'll be tested on 13 different practice areas, which I can let you know what they are briefly. These are business law and practice, dispute resolution, contracts, torts, legal system of England and Wales, and constitutional and administration law and EU law and legal services. That actually all comes under the FLK1. You then also have the FLK2, which is property practice, wills and the administration of estates, solicitors' accounts, land law, trusts, and criminal law and practice as well. So an awful lot to cover in those two exams. When we talk about the multiple choice questions, it is often referred to as well as single best answer. So you'll have 5 options. You'll have a short sort of paragraph and a scenario with 5 options to choose from, all very plausible. And it will be down to you to work out the single best answer, which is obviously what the preparation course is there to help you to do. Due to the amount of questions you have and the time frame, it equates to around 1 minute and 40 seconds per question. So obviously, very taxing, as we've sort of spoken about. So that's the SQE1. We then also, once you've passed the SQE1, you would go on to study for and then take the SQE2 exams. Now, this is focused on solicitors' legal skills. And it's broken down into some oral assessments and some written as well. So with the oral assessments, you will be tested on advocacy and client interviewing. And then with the written assessments, these can be on case and matter analysis, legal drafting, legal research, and legal writing as well. The practice areas are reduced down to 5, and those are business, dispute resolution, property, criminal, and wills. In terms of taking the SQE2 exam, the cost for that is currently £3,086, and the written element again can be sat at those different Pearson VUE test centres which are available worldwide. But the oral part can currently only be taken in 4 locations in England and Wales, which are London, Manchester, Birmingham, and Cardiff as well. The SQE1 exams are available every January and July, so 6 months apart. SQE2 are actually quarterly, so every January, April, July, and October. So then, let's move on then to those different course options. So that's the exams. So that was a bit of a run through really to make sure everyone has an understanding of what's involved in those exams, so that then it makes more sense to learn then about how you can actually study for them. So we refer to sort of SQE pathways in terms of, as you saw in that jigsaw, there isn't an order anymore that you have to do your studying and gaining your work experience. And so because of that, there's a few different routes that people can take, which certainly can cause confusion. So we're going to try and explain this to you now. So first of all, you could look at sort of upfront study. And by that, we would mean just focus now on preparing, perhaps on a full-time basis for the SQE. And then once you've passed your SQE 1 and 2, then move on to focusing on your qualifying work experience. So the situation here might be that you've just come straight, you've just graduated from your LLB in law or from a GDL, and you're able to sort of continue on that full-time study path. Advantages here would be that if you've got sort of that momentum already, you've been in that groove of studying, and you think, let's just carry on, let's just get them out of the way, then you might want to do that. It's a very clear focus then on sort of passing those exams without having anything else in the way. And it can also strengthen training contract applications as well to show that you're already working towards or have passed any elements of the SQE. So considerations here would be that financially, particularly if you're studying on a full-time basis, you would needing to pay for the courses and the exams a lot quicker. There would be less legal practice experience initially. So if you haven't already worked in legal practice, then you don't have that sort of comparison to pull into your studies and to your exams, and it is really high intensity. So we'll explain a little bit more as we go through, but a full-time study really is full-time. Another option there then is to earn and learn at the same time. So perhaps gaining qualifying work experience alongside SQE studies. So it could be someone is already working in a legal role, perhaps as a paralegal or something similar, developing their legal career. And it could be that work that you're doing is ticking off your qualifying work experience at the same time. And then you could study on a part-time basis alongside working. Advantage is obviously you've got some money coming in at the same time then, but you would also have that practical experience to reinforce your learning. The key things to consider here is obviously strong time management, and that's whether you are working a legal role or working any other job at the same time as your studies. We'll touch more about this as we go through as well, but just being really quite clear about and realistic really about the amount of time that you do have to put towards your studies and working out the best route for you that way. So the academic pace would be a little bit slower, obviously, if you're having to work alongside studying as well, but we do have different course options to benefit that situation. And yeah, a tip there, obviously there's no single best route, and you really need to pick what aligns with yourself, and whether that's you sort of being ready academically, the time available to you and your finances, and the ultimate goals and timeframes that you need to look at. There's no doubt people on here on the call this evening from very different backgrounds in very different situations as well, so there really isn't going to be a one-size-fits-all approach. So without further ado then, I will hand you over to Steve, if that's okay, Steve, please, to start talking a bit more detail then about what's actually involved in the SQE preparation.
Yeah, sure. So if we move to the next slide, please. Oh, lovely. Thanks very much indeed. Well, you'll have gathered from what Nicola has already said, and I'm sure from your own research and experience. I mean, one only has to go onto LinkedIn nowadays to get lots of feedback from students that have sat the SQE1 to discover quite how challenging, if I can put it that way, the SQE1 assessment is. And there's no sugarcoating it. It's a very difficult assessment, and if you're to ask the SRA, they would say necessarily so, because as Nicola has already alluded to, the whole point is that is that when you sort of emerge from the process, you are a day one solicitor, and so you probably will very rapidly come to the conclusion, if you haven't done so already, and by virtue of the fact that you were here, I rather guess that might be the case as well, that it would be very difficult indeed to attempt the SQE1 without some real help and assistance. And that's what the SQE1 preparation course that we offer, as I say, it's called the SLK, the SLK is there to do. So rather than being out there and struggling by yourself and trying to learn about 13 very different practice areas to such an extent that you can pass an assessment, what we offer you is a very guided learning process with lots of support not only from the materials themselves, and I'll come to that in a moment, but also from subject matter experts who hold seminars, and you're able to go to those seminars, and some of the mysteries and otherwise of the particular practice areas will be resolved and solved for you by those practice experts, and you have the opportunity to ask questions. So we're very aware, therefore, that our primary role is to get you to be exam ready, to have you in the best possible position that you can be in order to be able to attempt the SQE1 and hopefully, therefore, to pass at the first available opportunity. So the learning that you will that you will follow, which we call mastery learning. I'll explain that in more detail should you join us. But it involves a whole variety of materials. So you'll have audio and visual materials to look at in relation to all of the practice areas. You've got very tailored manuals that are very specific to the SQE1 assessment specification, and isn't full of OTOS material that you will not need for the assessment. And we give you the opportunity to embed that information through a variety of activities and scenarios, drag and drops and flashcards, that sort of thing. And in relation to each of the practice areas, at the end of each subunit that you might study, or if I can put it another way, each topic or each chapter of the manual that you study, you have the opportunity to answer 10 single best answer questions, or multiple choice questions, as they're often and wrongly referred to by the SRA, to see quite how well your learning is going. And of course, that's the element of independent study that you're engaged upon, but we structure it in such a way that you are able, should you follow the plan that we suggest, to comfortably get through all of the 13 practice areas before you take the assessment. As I say, there's support from supervisors, so there are I think up to, I think now currently there are 34 seminars that we offer across all of the 13 practice areas, hour-long seminars which are recorded. So if you're unable to actually make the seminar, you can go and watch the recording fairly swiftly after the session has actually taken place. The whole strategy, if you like, of the course and study advice that we can provide to you, tailored towards the SQE1. It also takes place in course information sessions that I, as module leader, run throughout the time on the course, and you have the opportunity to ask me there any questions that you might have. Some of those are drop-ins. Many of those are presentations specifically geared to try and help you at particular points. So, for example, I might run one on the booking process for the SQE1 assessment. And also we offer, which is a very important part of the learning process and the strategy of the course, we offer a whole series of in old speak, mock assessments, or formatives, I think is the more modern speak. We refer them to them as progress tests, and they mimic the FLK1 and the FLK2 in terms of the practice areas that you will come across in those papers. And we help you to develop your stamina so that you're ready to take this very long assessment by starting small, at half an hour or 20 questions, and each time you take a pair of assessments, that time and the number of questions that we ask you to answer become greater and greater, and they are timed. and they're a very, very good way of learning the specific exam technique that is required for this particular assessment. And examination technique is something that you will find that I return to time and time again in the course information sessions, and indeed the academic seminars that I run. So there are plenty of opportunities, as the slide says, over 2,300 of these single best answer questions for you to have a go at, and to ensure that you fully understand what they are and you are ready. They're available to you for an unlimited period of time whilst you're on the course, and indeed beyond for another 14 months. So you can attempt them time and time again. And the beauty of the progress tests is, very much like the MCQs at the end of the subunits, is that you get instant feedback. You get instant diagnostic feedback that will tell you not only whether you've got the answer right or wrong, but why that was the case, by way of a targeted explanation, and then a specific reference back to the relevant paragraph and point of the manual that will help you on that. So it's extremely supportive in your attempts to be absolutely as ready as you possibly can. And then you when you've taken the SQE1 course and the SQE1 assessment, you're obviously then moving on to a different part, because the SQE2 assessments are specifically testing you on the day-to-day skills that lawyers have to exhibit during their time practicing as a lawyer, wherever that may be. So it focuses on case analysis, which is at the root of what all lawyers do. It teaches you and helps you in relation to advocacy and drafting of documents and writing letters and that sort of thing, because those are the skills that you will be specifically assessed upon by the SRA as and when you come to the SQE2 preparation. And anything that you are assessed upon, we provide the relevant, appropriate and substantive preparation for you. So as you can see on the slide, it talks about the opportunity to do 100+ activities and skills practices. It gives you the opportunity to come to people like me, who also pop up on the SQE2 preparation, and get the opportunity, for example, to do an advocacy performance and to receive from me live, immediate, diagnostic, very detailed feedback. And also that happens in relation to the other written skills as well. And throughout both the SQE1 and the SQE2, you have the personal support of our personal supervisors, or I think as we now refer to them as the success supervisors or student success supervisors, who are highly experienced individuals in the higher education, who are there to help and guide and provide advice to you at those moments where you are maybe struggling or doubtful about various aspects of the course, or how you're learning, or whatever it may be, and they're there to provide you with that support. And so therefore, by the time that you get to the SQE2, you hopefully, will be very well prepared, and you'll have done assessments, summative assessments, at the end of the course as well, testing some of those skills that you're going to need for the SQE2. Probably exhaust that slide, Nicola, I would have thought. Yes. Nicola's already sort of touched upon this in terms of having to consider which is the best way to go, studying whilst you're working, or separating it out and literally going for a study first course. And what we offer, insofar as both preparation courses are concerned, are a very intensive course. 13 weeks, so we refer to it as a full-time course because it requires a full-time commitment. For the SQE2, it's that full-time course is 10 weeks. Then there's the option of a 20-week course, which we refer to as a part-time course, and then an extended course that runs to 40 weeks. And one of the key decisions that you want to make is which is going to be the best course for me in my current situation. So I did note a question actually that popped up that wondered whether or not the full-time course was something that would be possible for somebody that is currently working on a full-time basis. My advice and Colt's advice, and I'm sure if you were to ask Nicola and Lara, their advice would be precisely the same, would be not really to contemplate the 13-week course if you can possibly avoid it. That course involves, on a weekly basis, you having to study something around the region of 12 or 13 separate subunits or separate topics on a whole variety of areas across the week, with a minimum preparation time of 2 hours, 15 minutes. And if you want to create your own active revision study, it may take more time than that. So as the slide says, 30 to 35 hours, be ready for that, or even ready for more, because of course it depends on how quick a learner you are. So that's why we recommend that sort of intensive study, 13 weeks, where there is literally nothing else to do but to get yourself ready and to do those studies, is why we recommend it for those that might be recent law graduates with a strong academic record, as it says, and very little at that moment in time on the horizon, other than simply to study. And it really does involve you having to consistently engage with all of the materials each and every day effectively, in order to be able to keep up with the pace of the course. So it is best for those that can, as the slide says, dedicate themselves fully for that relatively short period, but and defined period of 13 weeks. In relation to the question, therefore, that I've asked, you've probably already realised that what I'm going to say to you is the 20-week or the 40-week course is probably far better suited to those that are already working, and whether full-time or part-time. The 20-week course involves getting involved in those topic areas. There are 6 or 7 in order to keep up with the course over that 20-week period. So immediately you can see that there's less time that you need to dedicate to your studies at that point. They are suitable for those that are in work or full-time or part-time, it is very manageable, generally speaking. Of course, I don't know what job you do, but generally speaking, most of the feedback that I get from students is that hard work though it may be, it is very manageable, and they're ready to take the SQE1 at the end of it. So there's a much more gradual opportunity, therefore, to get to grips with those legal principles, to embed them, and to apply them in the way that is required for whichever SQE assessment it is that you're looking towards. And then you have the 40-week course, and immediately you can see we're down now to 8 to 10 hours per week, and that's because we suggest that you that you attempt 3 or 4 subunits per week, which is eminently doable, particularly. So it's eminently doable, even if you've got a pretty committed job and perhaps other external commitments as well that take up your time. So it's spread out over the 40 weeks. There's less stress, of course, involved because it's over it's a much more gentle pace and allows you to arrive at your destination in a way that may suit you because of your particular circumstances. So that really sort of covers that. If there's well, I think there's another slide or two, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the masters. We offer a masters, an LLM in legal practice, and obviously. One of the main considerations that you may have, and indeed this is the sort of purpose of the seminar, is you'll want to ask yourself, well, what do I want to do here? Do I want to just do the SQE1 and then later on the SQE2 preparation courses? So to use the expression, do I just want to use them as standalone courses? Because I'm not interested in any other study. I just want to give myself the best possible chance to become a solicitor through the SRA assessment process. And that, of course, is what the preparation courses are there and set up to help you do. But the LLM that we offer in legal practice also gives you additional opportunities to get real practice experience. So you have the additional opportunities over and above the SQE1 and the SQE2 preparation courses to get involved in what we call transactional modules, where they're realistic. They're based upon the sort of experience that you are likely to come across in a solicitor's office during your life as a lawyer. They're practice-led critical skills, which are very much focused on what you might do as a lawyer with a case. Sometimes, for example, what happens at the very beginning and taking it to the very end. It rather depends on the structure of that particular module and the subject area that you might elect to do. So you have that opportunity to develop a portfolio constituting 8 different parts of this module, but it's supervisor led. So you have a mentor, and you have the opportunities to have meetings with your mentor and to get specific feedback, and then to use the feedback to make it better. And then it all finishes off with what is called the capstone module, which is actually a dissertation. But again, it's focused on practice. And you look again at the sort of areas that you cover in the transactional module, and go from there and provide your dissertation, which also is supervisor assisted. So you have that. So the question really for you is, do I want that additional qualification? Do I have the time to commit to those additional parts that will be necessary to obtain that qualification? will it be a real advantage? For example, if I'm in the position where I want to apply for my qualifying work experience post the SQE preparations, and therefore have more to offer a prospective employer. So obviously there are all of those considerations. You can see that there is a cost, but unlike the preparation courses, the LLM can be funded with a student loan, which would cover the entire course and also the SQE examination fees. And that may be a very practical reason why you want to elect the LLM. But those are decisions for you, which obviously are very individual and have got to fit where you're at and the time that you have available and the opportunity to commit. And then finally, I think there might be one final slide.
Yes, we would like your top tips, please, Steve.
Okay, the top tips. Yes, top tips. You might see, if you've been on LinkedIn and watched any of our recordings, you might have heard me say these already, because I know I'm out there somewhere in cyberspace. But some of the top tips I would give you would be to absolutely trust the process that we offer. A lot of care, time, and consideration has been put into the way in which these preparation courses have been set up, and the order in which we suggest that you become engaged with the learning, and the various materials that are there available. So be confident that we have provided absolutely everything that you will need in order to make yourself exam ready and to give yourself the best possible chance. And follow our study plan, which we set out for you in a calendar. I'm sure you've already gathered from what I've already said, falling behind, given the intensity of some of these courses, particularly the 13-week and the 20-week course, is not really advisable. And a lot of the students that we've seen coming through COLP and provide feedback to us at the end, and indeed give us an indication of what advice they would give you. All of them will say and have said, do try not to fall behind. This is a guided learning schedule. Meet the weekly deadlines to us. What we basically say is, do all of these subunits in this week. We start on the Monday, finish on the Sunday. You're ready for the next week. You're not behind. And you'll obviously appreciate if it's a 13-week course and you're supposed to be doing 12 subunits a week. If you fall behind by a couple of weeks, that's an awful lot of work to try and catch up with, as well as trying to cover what is already there. The progress tests are absolutely vital. They're diagnostic, so they help you to realize where your weaknesses might be, and indeed where your strengths might be, and so therefore where you can step back from some practice areas and focus much more on others. When you go to the seminars, they're deliberately timetabled so that you will have, or are meant to have, already studied those topic areas, because what we're there to do is to help you to understand the more tricky aspects of those topic areas, because we as lawyers are used to interpreting complex legal solutions and explaining and communicating them in a way that, for example, lay people can understand. That's what we do as lawyers. And so the seminars are geared towards helping you to do that, and are very exam specific as well. So everything that you learn, we will relate to the type of questions that you will be facing. before joining, plan ahead. Tell everybody that is important to you, what it is that you're going to do, why it's important, why you're going to be stepping away from some other commitments, and ask them to help you with that. And lastly, this is supported. There is plenty of support from CULP, from the academic supervisors, from the student success supervisors, to student support, who are an absolutely excellent team taken from all over the country.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Steve. There's been a couple of questions come through, which I could just put to you now because they're sort of linked a little bit to this. So one was just about, are there any breaks for things like half term? And there aren't, are there? Other than sort of if your program runs over Christmas, there's a break then. But other than that, the schedule.
Yeah, that's right. We don't do any live seminars on Christmas Day and Boxing Day or any of those bank holidays. So you wouldn't be expected or indeed have the opportunity to come to seminars that are being delivered live on those bank holidays. But the course continues nevertheless apace. So it might be, well, I think we've got a bank holiday coming up this Monday, and I'm pretty certain that most of the cohorts will have some units in their calendar study plan that we're suggesting that they should study. Whether they do it on Bank Holiday Monday or later on in the week, of course, is a matter for them, but the course does continue.
Thanks, Steve. And similarly to that then, is it possible to work ahead of time? So, you've got those that, I know there's nothing blocked off to stop someone, looking at materials further ahead, but how realistic or how doable is that if someone is working, I guess, perhaps on a part-time program, but has a bit more time to put into it?
Well, is it possible to work ahead? The answer is yes. And of course, if you've got the time to be able to do that, and I've had quite a number of students that have done just that they've worked sometimes well in advance of the recommended study plan, because they had the time and the opportunity to do that, and they were ensuring that, as far as they were concerned, they had plenty of time for revision. The only things that are blocked off are these progress tests that I've talked about. There are 10 in total throughout the course, and as I say, 5 of them are FLK 1 papers and 5 are FLK 2, and they are only released at specific points in the calendar. And we actually release those progress tests to coincide with all of the topic areas that you will have studied up to the point at which the assessment is released. So that's something to bear in mind if you are thinking ahead, because you may go well ahead, and then the progress test comes up, and it won't be as quite as fresh and as recent in your mind, the practice areas, the topic areas that are going to come up, so you may have to go back on that. So yes, on a practical basis, if like everybody here, you have a real life as well, and indeed a work life, it's very difficult to get ahead. But if you can, yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steve. Lovely. So we'll move on then. And Lara has got quite a few more slides actually, Lara, haven't you? But just kind of some further detail that we haven't yet covered about the programs and about the sort of comparison. So Lara, I'll hand over to you and move this slide across.
Thank
you.
Okay. Thank you. So I know I've already spoke a lot about the LLM and the SQE as well, but this just sort of breaks down the courses themselves. So if you are looking at doing the standalone preparation courses, which we offer, they're usually designed for those who want flexibility, but are just wholly focused on the SQE Prep courses themselves. So for the prep courses, you study them as a modular. So you'll study the SQE1 preparation course first, and then the SQE2 preparation course as a separate course. And you do have the option to pause between the stages. Obviously, the content that you'll go over within the SQE standalone prep courses will just be obviously SQE Prep. there wouldn't be any of the other content that you would go over. And obviously it is a lower total training cost as well, and you do pay by installments. So with all the courses which we offer at the college, everything is paid by installments, so it does make it therefore a little bit more easier to manage. The prep courses do offer obviously some sort of work flexibility and study flexibility, and you can also control your own timings. So as we've already mentioned and Steve mentioned earlier, you have the option to do it as a full-time option or 2 part-time options, depending on your own flexibility as well. If you are looking at going on to the LLM, this is ideally a good option if you are looking for a more structured approach and you want sort of extended academic experience. And it also can be funded through a master's loan. So with the LLM, not only does it obviously also include the SQE preparation courses, it also includes obviously the elective modules, so transactional modules that you pick, and you'll pick 2, as well as a research project, which is a capstone project. So it's similar to that of a dissertation. Obviously, regarding the cost and the funding, it is a single program fee. So there's no sort of hidden costs that you have to pay for. There's no sort of like interest fee payments. Everything is a set price. And obviously, like we've already discussed, it is eligible for a master's loan. So if you're a student who's based in the UK, you can apply for a loan through student finance, and it would mean that you'd get enough money to pay for the cost of the LLM course in itself, and also have enough money left over to pay for the SQE examinations on top of that. And obviously, if you do the master's qualification, you would be awarded a postgraduate qualification at the end of that course as well. I could have the next slide. Thank you. So this shows you the difference between the full-time and the part-time option for the LLM. So if you are looking at going for the full-time option, this is a 1-year program in total. So you would begin with the Solicitor's Legal Knowledge, so the SQE Preparation course, and you would do this for 13 weeks. We then give you a 2-week gap, which basically gives you the chance to focus on any sort of SQE revision that you want to do. And you have the option to sit the SQE examination if you wish. So some students do decide to do this, whereas other students don't. And the option is completely up to you. You would then focus on your transactional module. So you do that for 9 weeks. There's a 2-week gap, and then you'll focus on your second transactional module for a further 9 weeks. And then you'll move on to the SQE2 preparation module, which is Solicitor's Legal Knowledge, and you'll do that for 10 weeks. And then once again, you have the option to sit the exam if you decide to do it. And then at the end of the course, you would upload and complete your capstone project. So that basically gets released towards the start of the course. So you have enough time to focus on it, obviously research for it as well. Now, with the part-time option, this is obviously the extended version. So it's a 2-year course in total. And although it is similar to the full-time option, obviously the modules and the content is slightly extended. So for the SQE preparation course, you do that for 20 weeks as opposed to 13 weeks. And obviously we still provide you the option to sit the exams if you wish. And then your transactional modules that you pick, they will be done for 18 weeks. And then the SQE2 preparation module will be done for 20 weeks. And then obviously the capstone project, which you submit at the end of the course. So obviously you can just see the difference between the full-time and the part-time course, but the full-time one is very much, as we've already said, full-time. So 30 to 35 hours of studying per week. So if you are working full-time, we definitely recommend the part-time option to give that bit more flexibility and to make the course a lot more manageable for yourself as well. So these are the different funding options which are available. So as we have already mentioned, the LLM legal practice, which does include the SQE Prep courses, can be funded through a student loan. Obviously, all the cost of the course fees, they are spread out. So they are paid in installments, and they are interest-free installments as well. If you're lucky enough that your employer is funding the course for you, they will usually pay upfront for the course fees. And then we do have obviously some scholarships and different schemes which are available. Now, at the college, we also do offer SQE scholarships that are just purely for the standalone preparation courses. We only do offer a set number per year, and they are quite hard to get. So on the website, you can basically click sort of like advise your interest and that you want to sign up for that. But they are quite hard to come by, and they are only released sort of like once a year as well. There is also the Law Society Diversity Access Scheme and the Legal Social Mobility Foundation as well. So they're the different funding options which are available. And that QR code will basically explain those funding options in a lot more detail as well. So these are the different courses which we offer at the college. So for those who might not necessarily have a law undergrad degree or much experience of the law, then you can do our law conversion course, which is known as the Graduate Diploma in Law. And this is £3,950. And once again, you have the flexibility to do it as a full-time course, which is 20 weeks, or a 40-week part-time option. Now, obviously, today's focus is on the SQE Prep courses and also the LLM. So for the standalone preparation courses, SQE1 is £2,200, SQE2 is £2,700, and you can see there obviously the different start dates and the intakes which we have. And then the LLM legal practice, this is £7,245. And then you can either do it as obviously 1 year full-time or as a 2-year part-time, and they show the different hours as well. So if you are looking at going full-time, it's 30 to 35 hours, or part-time, it's 15 to 20 hours of studying per week. So these are the next available start dates which we have. So for the SQ1 preparation course, if you did want to do it full time, the next available start date would be the 21st of September. And that would then lead you on to the January 2027 assessment. If you wanted to go part-time, the next available start date for the 20-week option is the 8th of February. And then if you wanted to do the extended 40-week option, which is 8 to 10 hours of study per week, we do have a cohort which is starting on the 7th of September. Now, at the moment, applications are still open at this moment in time, but the application will be closing very, very soon. So ideally say if you are looking at wanting to join that cohort, get that application in as quickly as possible. So be it later on this evening or tomorrow, just then obviously everything then is all sorted before the course begins on the 7th of September, because the deadline will be closing. And then if you wanted to go on to the LLM legal practice, you can do it as obviously the 1 year full-time course, and they start on the 21st of September. Or then the part-time option, they do start on the 8th of February. And all applications, they're made online directly for our website. They're free to do, and they take less than 30 minutes. And all you need is a form of identity, such as a driving license or a passport. And then you'll also need proof of an undergrad degree as well. And then that will get submitted on your application, and you just then send it off, and it'll get sent directly to the student services team who would review it. So obviously, I know we've already spoken a lot about the college and what we offer. We are currently scored 4.4 on Trustpilot, and this is just a handful of some of the feedback which we've got from our students. So as you can see, a lot of them have commented on the experience at the college, the course content and the material, and how helpful staff have been as well. So if you did want to get more of an insight, then I would say just head to Trustpilot, type in the College of Legal Practice, and then you can explore a lot of the different feedback which we're given from the students who have studied with us at the college. So obviously, I know we've explained a lot of information today, and it can be quite confusing what course is right for you, whether to do the SQE or the LLM. So at the college, we have provided a choosing the right SQE prep course for you, and this is the guide. So that QR code on the screen will take you to that guide where you're able to download a free copy, and it explains a lot more sort of detail about the courses which we offer, and some really useful information on there as well, which you're obviously able can have a little look over and a read for yourself.
Brilliant, thanks, Lara. Lots of information there for you this evening. I know there's a few other questions that came through, so we'll just try and have a quick look through to see if there's anything else that we've missed. I think hopefully some of the things we'll have either answered in the chat as we've gone through, or we later came to slides that were sort of related to that. I did see a question about whether the SQE exams are paper-based or are they on the computers. They are all on the computers, apart from that oral assessment for the SQE2, where it's actors essentially, Steve, isn't it? That take part, in the scenario that is set up there for you in a courtroom or an interview room or something like that at those test centres. But the SQE2 written exam and all of the SQE1 is computer based. Yes. I'm just going to pop the rest of our contact details up on here as well. We'll see if there's anything else that was asked. I know there's a question about pass rates as well. Pass rates is a really tricky one because unfortunately the SRA don't currently provide that data back to training providers. They don't issue that at all. The reason being, I think they haven't quite worked out the best method of doing it, of working out, where people have studied. But equally, we don't really get that clear data back from students either, because sometimes students don't decide not to take the exam straight away, and they might revise for a bit longer and take it at the next available opportunity, which is perfectly fine. You've got plenty of time to do that, and you've got continued access to that learning material. But it's quite hard because it's not an internal assessment, because it's external to us to then get that data back. As Steve mentioned, as sort of the benchmark of aiming for 65% in those progress tests. What we have found from students that we have been speaking to, of those that have passed, have been hitting that target. So that's a really good benchmark that we've been able to provide to guide people on there. But as Lara said, you can have a look at Trustpilot as well as our reviews on there, and hopefully that will give you some reassurances as well. So what I will do then is I'll be sending a copy of the recording out, and also a copy of the slides as well. And as Lara showed you, we have got that guide as well, which has been, we really sort of pulled the webinar, based it off that as well, the guide that's been put together, because without a doubt, the questions that we get asked time and time again is, well, which is the best route for me? Is it SQE Prep? Is it LLM? Is it, full-time, part-time, the longer course even? And there's so many different variables, which is great that there's lots of options out there, but we appreciate that can cause, further confusion then as well. So I'll send out further information, do digest it, but please do feel free to come back to us. You can call us, you can send us an email, the details are on the screen there. You can book in for a one-to-one chat with us as well if you would like to. We are here to try and help and advise you onto the most appropriate route for your own circumstances. Lovely. Well, thank you so much everyone for joining this evening, and I'll draw the webinar to a close now, and enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone.